Welcome back to Miss Ewing TV. Today we're going to draw a spider web. So on the back of your paper, I want you to write your name and your class code. And then flip your paper over. This paper is watercolor paper because we are going to be watercolor painting it next week. So it's a little bit thicker and it has a little bit of a texture to it. So if you make a mistake, you have to erase. You cannot get a new paper. So in the center of my paper, when I draw a spider web, I start in the center and I draw lines out to the corner, but if they're not perfectly in the corner, that's okay. So right now I have 4 lines that extend from my center point out to those corners. Now I'm going to put 1 line in between each of those lines. So now if I count my lines, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have 8 lines total. I'm going to start at the bottom and I'm just going to put a little dot. You don't have to do a dot, but it might help you when you're drawing your web lines. So I'm going to start here and I'm just going to go from this dot to this dot, but I like to do just a little bit of a curve to it so it's not completely straight. Might curve out or close, or I guess curve in towards that dot a little bit. Curve in towards that dot. Dot to dot. It's kind of like doing a dot to dot. Curve into that dot. And we're going to just repeat that same step at least 4 or 5 more times. As it gets closer to that center point, sometimes those little web lines get closer together. Connect the dots. They kind of curve. If yours are straight, that's okay too. I think some of mine are straight and some of mine are a little curved. Okay, I'm going to do it again. And if it helps, you could rotate your paper as you go. Getting close. All right, now that I'm finished, the next step is to trace it with a white crayon. So, I forgot my crayon, let me grab one. And the tricky part is you can't see the white crayon when you're tracing, so I'm going to do these lines out here first. You can see it a little bit if you press down hard enough. Kind of looks, leaves a little bit of a texture on your paper. So I'm going to make sure I do all of these lines first. So I got all of those. Did that one. And then I can trace all of these lines. Trace every single line. So I'm going to start on the outside and work my way to the center so I don't accidentally forget one. The reason we're tracing them with a white crayon is because next week we're going to use watercolor paints. And crayons have wax in them and watercolor paint does not stick to the wax. So when we paint, our paint will stick to the white paper, but it will not stick. Oops, I just pressed so hard I broke my crayon in half. It will not stick to that crayon, so we'll still be able to see our web. It's called a resist. The crayon resists the paint. All right, I'm gonna keep going, but you can continue working on yours.